Welcome back to Throwing It Down with Midi D. I am so excited for the divisional round of the playoffs. Wildcard was great. It didn't go bad, didn't go good for me. I think I got the thing right where people thought it would happen the least, which was the Bengals and the Raiders not scoring a lot of points. And they should have scored less because Joe Burrow threw that pass and they blew the whistle, and it should have just been a replay. But that didn't happen. So, still hit the under. And then on the other games, yeah, I did get them wrong. Cowboys got smacked, and the 49ers, you couldn't stop their offense. Debo Samuel. Holy moly. The Eagles got beat by the Bucks. It was pretty much the same thing as what happened the last time the Eagles and Bucks played, but the difference was the Eagles didn't score in the first quarter this time. All right, I want to go through these games quick. We'll start off with the first set game on Saturday, roll through to Sunday, and hopefully we get through them quick because I want to get this video out before the time of the playoffs. First, I want to start with Cincinnati and Tennessee. Cincinnati's favored by 4. No, they are underdogs by 4. And do I think this line is correct? No. I thought that the line would be around 2.5 for Tennessee, just for the simple fact that, Tennessee's defense has been playing great, and Cincinnati is looking really good on offense. And while Tennessee gets Derrick Henry back, this is the main thing I want to talk about for this game specifically. The Titans get Tennessee back. The Titans get Derrick Henry back, and people think he's going to make a huge difference. I don't know if you know this, but Tennessee was the number 1 seed, and they didn't have Derrick Henry for the last 9 games. And, they had a worse record in those 9 games, but barely. I think they may have lost one more game without Derrick Henry. And when you look at the running backs that they do have, Deontay Foreman, he's good. He's a great back to have, especially as a backup, because he complements Derrick Henry so well. They play very similarly. And then you have Dontrell Hilliard, who's a little more speedy. He's a little smaller. But Titans' offensive line is playing super well. And I think they win and cover, just for the simple fact that the Titans, people think that they're underdogs. There is that mentality because people were doubting them even when Derrick Henry was in. I'm not even a Derrick Henry fan, but I just think that Ryan Tannehill is so great. He's playing so great, even when Derrick Henry's not on the field. That might not show up in the statistics, but he wins games. And the defense has helped out a lot. And I think that even though Cincinnati has those 3 great pass catchers and a great tight end and a good running back, they are not equipped to withstand the trifecta of perfection that Tennessee has on offense. Also, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've worn a different shirt in each of my podcasts. And I'm going to keep that trend going because I think it's kind of funny, kind of cool. You don't know what I'm wearing next time. So I might need more shirts. I have a bunch because obviously I've only done a couple podcasts, but I'm going to need more if I keep on doing this. Just saying. Next game is San Francisco at the Packers. San Francisco is an underdog by 5.5 points. Looking at these teams, you have a super amazing 49ers team that might be the second best team in the NFC behind the Packers. Their defense is playing super well. Even though they lost a bunch of their defensive backs earlier in the season, they're starting to get into a rhythm, and they're starting to play well, even with that detriment to their team. And their front 4, especially, getting good pressure. pummeled the offensive line for the Cowboys. They tackled Zeke in the backfield a bunch of times, and it came out that he had a knee injury. So, maybe it wasn't as hard as they made it seem, but I think that's really impressive, and they're really gonna show how much they can bully the Packers' offensive line, which is very good. So, looking at the offense, obviously, San Francisco has a great skill players. And I think the key to the game, obviously, is getting George Kittle involved. Maybe not be obvious to some people, but they're going to get Deebo Samuel the ball, and he's going to make incredible plays. Nobody can tackle him, but George Kittle is key. He's a player that kind of like Deebo, but they do different things. But that doesn't stop him from making a huge impact on the game and the team. He's a great blocker as well, which helps the running game so much. And I think the running game is going to be insanely good in this game. The Packers have a bad run defense, bottom half in the league, while their pass defense is a little better. And that's how the 49ers are going to win the game. With what they have, I don't think their defense is good enough to stop the 49ers attack. They have a great secondary, which is really the thing that the 49ers don't attack that much. They're going over the middle more than a lot of other teams. They're running the ball a lot, and they have insane blockers. They have an insane offensive line. And then their blockers, Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle, that they use a lot, are some of the best in the league as well. So the Packers, I think it's a really bad matchup for them. And I know the last score in the game that they played earlier in the season was 30-28 Packers, but this is very different. This is the playoffs. A lot of things have changed, specifically about the 49ers, because they have a whole new identity now using Deebo and incorporating Brandon Ayuk into the game, actually, which is huge because he's a great receiver to have, even if you don't like him. Kyle Shanahan. So on Sunday, we have the Rams playing at the Tampa Bay Bucks, and the Bucks are favored. And this is a big mistake. The Rams are going to pummel the Bucks. I think it's going to be I believe it will be a low-scoring game just because of how the Bucks defense played against the Eagles. They let up those 2 garbage time touchdowns last week, so they basically held the Eagles to 0 points. If they weren't playing prevent defense at the end of the game. They showed who they are as a team. They're going to move the ball methodically through the middle of the field, take up a lot of time. They have a decent running game. They're getting Leonard Fournette back, who's a threat out of the backfield, but nothing special. When Matthew Stafford gets into these grooves, the Rams win, and the Rams are going to win this game by a lot, I believe. The defense is top half in the league, points allowed. They're on this hot streak. Matthew Stafford's playing great, getting OBJ incorporated. He threw a fade to OBJ in the end zone, which is the worst play, but when you have someone that attacks the ball like that, in the end zone specifically, because he's going to want touchdowns. Maybe a 5-yard slant across the middle isn't something that he wants to put his body on the line for, but he will do it for a touchdown, and he will help this team. Getting Cam Akers back for the Rams is insanely important. Looking at the dual threat of Cam Akers and Sony Michel, who looked good in the last game. I've heard some slander about Sony Michel. Y'all need to stop that because he's actually propelled this team into not being just a one-dimensional passing team in the meantime when Darrell Henderson was hurt and Cam Akers was also hurt. Also, Cam Akers never tore his Achilles? I feel lied to. Why do they lie? I also don't like how some teams designate their players to having torn tendons when they're partially torn, because that's a huge distinction they need to make in the medical report and what they share to the public. We're being misled. And I'm big about honesty. I'm big about telling the truth. and they are not. It's really hurtful. I don't know if they think we're stupid or something, but we should know that information. Just saying. Anyways, the Rams will win. Uh, so those are my two upsets. My two upsets are in the NFC. And if that gives you any indication, I like to be even with my life. So obviously in the AFC, both the favorites are going to win. That means in the Chiefs Bills game, the Chiefs will win. I really like to take into account games earlier in the season, but the Chiefs played so different when they were going through their struggle earlier. They were also playing insanely tough teams, and you have a different play style in the season, as you do in the postseason, and some players don't want it as much in the regular season. Like in the last game of the season when the Chiefs played the Broncos, one of the Chiefs defenders just let Drew Lock waltz into the end zone, uh, which was really funny to watch. But it just shows where some of the priorities were. Now they wanted to get the number one seed, and he didn't want to get hurt for the playoffs, which is a thing. Obviously, when you're in the playoffs, different situation. I really like what the Bills did last week. I thought they carved up the Patriots' pass defense. It showed that the Bills could play in the cold weather, which is something the media talked about the Bills having a problem with which I think is baloney. Oh, the Bills are using Devin Singletary so much now. I thought he was better than Zach Moss um, when they drafted him last year, when they drafted Moss last year. And, when they used Devin Singletary, I believe it was 3 seasons ago. This man, his yards after contact, one of the best in the league. Yards per carry was over 4, which is great. Buffalo's run blocking doesn't seem to be the best, but the juice inside Devin Singletary is one of a kind, and that's why he's one of the most underrated running backs in the league. I've thought this since his rookie season, when they started using him halfway through the season then, because I had him on my fantasy team and I was actually following him. But he just disappointed after that because the Bills decided to go to a 2 running back system. They messed up Singletary's groove. He should really be a number 1 with somebody who takes away maybe 5 carries a game, but keeps Devin Singletary in the groove of the game. He's quick, he's speedy, and he's really elusive, and you see that in his game. Now that I say all these great things about the Bills, I need to talk even higher about the Chiefs. So they stomped the Steelers last week, which we all thought. Mahomes, I don't want to say he is doing better than he played a season or 2 ago because he's not yet. But against a Steelers defense who has been holding teams to under 20 points prior to them being in the playoffs, that's something that you have to look at and give them credit for. And Mahomes dropped 42 on him. I wish I could get into much more about, all these games, but I'm going to stop there. The Chiefs are going to win by more than 2, I believe. And it's just because of their consistency on offense and defense. The Bills are a little more inconsistent. They had a little trouble against the Atlanta Falcons. A little trouble against the Jaguars, teams that really shouldn't be a part of the playoffs. They've shown out against teams that should be, so I think the Chiefs are a safer pick for that reason. The Bills, they have a lot of intensity. I know they're ready for this game, but the Chiefs are too. Mahomes, he was humiliated last year in the Super Bowl, and he doesn't want it to happen again. Mahomes will show the Bills who's boss. I believe it'll still be a close game. These teams are going to come out fiery, and that's going to go for a little less points than I think, the total inspires. But that's why we watch the games, we enjoy them, that's all for me today. Thank you for everybody who watched last week. It was fun to hear your feedback and everything, and um, I'll see you again next week. Sorry this is a little late. I was gonna do it last night, but I fell asleep, and I will see you again next week. Thank you.